Morning, everybody. I thought we would get right into it today, our study of Deborah from Judges 4. I have such a busy schedule today, I want to get with it. Nah, don't have a busy schedule. No one has a busy schedule right now. We're all sheltering and we're all stuck. So I don't have a busy schedule today, but I did want to get right into it for Judges 4. So here we go, Judges 4, starting in, well, I'm going to backtrack a little bit today because I wanted to go over a little bit of geography, because when I was reading along the next section of this, I got very confused and I thought, no, I got to go back and figure this out. So I'm going to start today with Judges 4, verse 6. And this is when Deborah sent for Barak. Okay, she said, one day Deborah sent for Barak, son of Abinoam, who lived in Kadesh in the land of Naphtali. She said to him, this is what the Lord God, the God of Israel, commands you. Call out 10,000 warriors from the tribes of Naphtali and Zebulun at Mount Tabor, and I will call out Sisera, commander of Jabin's army, along with his chariots and warriors to the Kishon River. There I will give you victory over him. So I decided I needed a little help with some of these geographical things, because I'm getting all mixed up now with who's going where and whatever. So I looked up on a map and I realized that the Kishon River, it flows from the mountains down to the Mediterranean Sea, and it goes kind of north and west. And it goes through, it forms the Jezreel Valley, and that's going to be mentioned later, the Jezreel Valley. And the Jezreel Valley, of course, we know back in ancient times, so many of the civilizations, they settled around water. So there would have been a lot of settlements around this Jezreel Valley where the Kishon River goes through, because that would have been a source of water for a lot of people. So this Jezreel Valley, to the north of it is Mount Tabor. And we said earlier that that's the boundary for the lands of Naphtali, Zebulun, and Issachar. And she's calling Barak, son of Abinoam, who lived in Kadesh in the land of Naphtali. So he comes from that tribe, and he lives in Kadesh, which is a city. Okay? So the city of Kadesh is west of Mount Tabor and east of the Kishon River. So we have Mount Tabor, the lands of Naphtali, Zebulun, and Issachar, the Jezreel Valley going right through with the Kishon River, and the city of Kadesh. So at various times she's telling him, go here, go there, go the other place, and I was getting very confused as to where he was going. So Barak, of course, says, I will go, and only if you'll go with me. And so in verse 9, she says, very well, I will go with you, but you will receive no honor in this venture, for the Lord's victory over Sisera will be at the hands of a woman. So Deborah went with Barak to Kadesh. Now that's the city, okay? And it's in the lands. It's a city probably where he was from, okay? So he goes back home, basically. At Kadesh, Barak called together the tribes of Zebulun and Naphtali, and 10,000 warriors went up with him. And Deborah also went with him. So there are two different things happening here. First, they go to Kadesh, which is a city, and there's where he musters his troops. Okay, he's calling the people from Zebulun, the people from Naphtali, come on, we need 10,000 men. And Deborah's there with him in Kadesh. Okay, and now they're going to actually go to Mount Tabor and go away from the city maybe and get ready for the battle. Okay, so now there's more movement. And we remember at this point they throw in this verse about Heber the Kenite. And he lives near Kadesh. So he's near that city where Barak is calling all of these people. So obviously Heber the Kenite, he would have seen all of these troops mustering at Kadesh because he lives near Kadesh. And he had a connection to the Israelites, maybe was even their ally. But we think at this point he got a little scared and he said, hey, Sisera is pretty powerful. I'm running over to the other side. So we think he gave Sisera the information that Barak was in this city of Kadesh mustering troops. So once Sisera knows that, then when Sisera was told that Barak, son of Abinoam, had gone up to Mount Tabor, this is verse 13, he called for 900 of his chariots and all of his warriors, and they marched from Harosheth Hagoyim to the Kishon River. So this long word, Harosheth Hagoyim, was obviously the encampment where Sisera had been staying and where all of the troops were, and all of the it was an encampment for the commander of King Jabin's army. So it was at the northwestern part of the Jezreel Valley. So he's coming down to the Kishon because he knows Barak is getting ready for a fight. Okay, so he's at one end, Barak was at the other side. They're going to meet in the middle of the valley, really, for this battle. Okay, then Deborah said to Barak, "Get ready. This is the day the Lord will give you victory over Sisera, for the Lord is going ahead of you." And that's where we stopped yesterday, that Deborah was saying, okay, we've mustered all the troops, come on, we're going to go. We're going to go into battle. Okay, so they've been at Kadesh, the city, and now they're going to actually take all these troops and go. So then we go, continuing in verse 14. So Barak led his 10,000 warriors down the slopes of Mount Tabor into battle. When Barak attacked, the Lord threw Sisera and all his chariots and warriors into a panic. Sisera leaped down from his chariot and escaped on foot. So this great, powerful commander of all these chariots, when the Lord throws a panic into people, it is a panic. And the Lord is saying, hey, you're not going to go up against Barak. You're going to be in a panic, and all your men are too. He put that spirit of fear into them. And what does Sisera do? Instead of mustering his troops and trying to get his people back on track, he jumps out of the chariot and starts running away on foot. I mean, how humbling is that? And here's this great, powerful chief, and he has nothing else to do but jump out of the cart and run away, okay? So he's running away, and of course, he's going to be chased, okay? When Barak, Sisera leaped down from the chariot and escaped on foot. Okay, verse 15. Then Barak chased the chariots and the enemy army all the way to Harosheth Hagoyim, killing all of the warriors. Not a single one was left alive. So remember, they're down in the Jezreel Valley, and so he's chasing them, the remainder of the warriors, not Sisera, but the remainder of the warriors, back to the encampment where their stronghold, their citadel, kind of where they've been living. So he's chasing them. Okay, meanwhile, what does Sisera do? So now we're in verse 17. Meanwhile, Sisera ran to the tent of Jael, the wife of Heber the Kenite, because Heber's family was on friendly terms with King Jabin of Hazor. Remember Heber, we had him earlier being the tattletale, the spy, the traitor. Now we're meeting his wife Jael. And of course their tent, remember their encampment was very close to Kadesh, so they would have been right in that area. And when Sisera ran away from the battle, he thought, I know who would harbor me. Heber, okay? Because he was a friend of King Jabin. So he runs to Heber's tent, but Heber isn't there. Who's there is Jael, who is Heber's wife. And she welcomes him. So this is verse 18. Jael went out to meet Sisera and said to him, "Come into my tent, sir, come in. Don't be afraid." So he went into her tent, and she covered him with a blanket. So she's hiding him. "Please give me some water," he said. "I'm thirsty." So she gave him some milk from a leather bag and then covered him up again. So far she's being pretty hospitable, isn't she? She's given him a place to hide, she's covering him up, and she's gave him a drink. Okay. But here's what she was waiting for. When Sisera fell asleep from exhaustion, Jael quickly crept up to him with a hammer and a tent peg in her hand. She drove the tent peg through his temple and into the ground, and so he died. Wow. She had some kind of courage, this lady. She went right up to him while he was sleeping, and whammo, she killed him. So now Barak has been chasing all these other soldiers back to Harosheth Hagoyim, and now he thinks, whatever happened to Sisera? I'm going to go find him. So this is verse 22. When Barak came looking for Sisera, Jael went out to meet him and said, Come, I will show you the man you are looking for. So he followed her into the tent, and he found Sisera lying there, dead, with a tent peg through his temple. I wonder how he felt at that point. He must have heard Deborah's prophetic words in his mind going, okay, a woman is going to get the honor from this. It's a simple wife of Heber the Kenite that had the courage and had the victory over Sisera himself. So Barak got the victory, but he didn't get that ultimate crown of saying, I'm the one who killed Sisera. No, the person who could say that was a woman. A woman. That's so great. And this chapter ends, so on that day, Israel saw God defeat Jabin, the Canaanite king. And from that time on, Israel became stronger and stronger against King Jabin until they finally destroyed him. So the war is going to continue, but the battle is over. Okay, the battle is won. And what's great about that is that the Canaanite king and in his chariots and all would have been very, very powerful and fearful. It caused a lot of fear in people's hearts. Think about these chariots. First of all, they could trample people. Second of all, they were studded with iron, maybe even spears sticking out from them. Third of all, they would have had 2 people in each chariot, a driver and then an archer. So they could ride through and just boom, 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 pick off people from this archer. They could kill a lot more people than a foot soldier could have killed. So they were a force to be feared, a force to be reckoned with. And yet, God defeated them basically using 2 women, people who were just ready for God to use them, just regular old people. That's really pretty powerful to know that he could use a simple person to defeat a giant army just because God is on your side. And I think that's one thing we always need to remember as Christians, that with our physical eyes we can see the circumstances, and that might cause us to be very fearful and panicky. But if we keep our eyes on God, the whole picture changes, because he is there in it. And if we're looking at the problem, we're not going to see God in the picture. And so often we are told this in Scripture, to focus on him, not to focus on the circumstance. So one of the ones I picked out to read today was Isaiah 26:3. And it says, you will keep in perfect peace those whose mind are steadfast because they trust you. God will give you perfect peace in the time of this pandemic if you just put your mind steadfastly on him. If you focus on him and all the wonderful things he's doing and can do, and his power and his plan. The New Testament says the same thing to us in Hebrews. In Hebrews it says, this is chapter 12, verses 1 and 2. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles us. And let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith. So our eyes are supposed to be on Jesus. He has already done the work of our salvation. He has promised us that he will never leave us nor forsake us. And Old Testament or New, we're asked not to focus on the circumstance, but to focus on God. Fix our spiritual eyes on him, even when the circumstances look dire, the way it would have looked to Barak and his people, the way it would have looked to Deborah if she hadn't trusted God's words and God's plan. So, I think that's such a great message for us today, is to fix our eyes on Jesus. And it reminds me, of course, of a song, because it so often does. Just a little small verse that I used to sing years ago. And it's called Turn Your Eyes on Jesus, but I'm going to put Fix Your Eyes on Jesus when I sing it. So it goes like this. Fix your eyes upon Jesus. Look full in his wonderful face, and the things in the light of his glory and grace. So fix your eyes on Jesus today, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care.